Well, good evening and welcome to Woodstock City Council. It is Thursday, February the 21st, 2019. We have quite a full agenda tonight and many delegations, but before we begin, I would like Council to recognize that here in our chambers tonight, we have the Mayor of Norwich Township, the Warden of Oxford County, Larry Martin, with us. Please stand and be recognized. Thank you. Our first order of business is disclosure of conflict of interest. Councillor Accioni.
Yes, thank you. I am declaring a conflict concerning item 8C for business reasons. Sorry. ZN 8-1903 for business purposes. Business connection. Thank you.
Further disclosure of conflict of interest. Seeing none, disclosure of new business. Matters arising from the minutes and the minutes of our meeting held on February 7th, 2019. Councillor Schadenberg.
Yeah, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Jerry Accioni that the minutes of the regular meeting of Woodstock City Council held on February the 7th, 2019 be adopted.
Thank you. Any errors or omissions? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. And we have additions to the agenda tonight. A motion. Councillor Schadenberg.
Moved by Mark Schadenberg and seconded by Councillor Jerry Accioni that the following items be added to the agenda. Delegation 7C, Alicia Hummel, application for zone change ZN 8-1903 pertaining to 65 Wellington Street. Delegation 7D, Jennifer Running, application for a zone change ZN 8-1903 65 Wellington Street. Delegation 7E, Pauline Busick for the same application zone change. Delegation 7F, Virginia Armstrong, the BIA manager for the same 165 Wellington Street. And also department report item E2 pertaining to Digital Main Street Service Squad grant.
And so tonight we have quite a few delegations, and I'd like to first mention that each delegation, with the exception of the delegation regarding the 2019 revenue budget overview, have a time limit of 5 minutes. So as presenters come up, if you see me hold up this gavel, it means you got a few seconds to wrap it up. So far I've never had to bang it, and we'll try and keep it that way. So our first delegation tonight, and we'll be receiving all of the delegations as they are in order on the approved agenda, will be from Philip Holst regarding the status of the Brick Ponds wetland rehabilitation. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Birch, councillors, staff, and guests. I appreciate the chance to report on the current status of Brick Ponds wetlands. And I wanted to bring up a photograph here of, just a second, sorry about that. I might need a little hand to get it, but at any rate, until it comes up, I wanted to mention that Brick Ponds Wetlands is a project that I've been working on with Mayor Birch, the staff, and the city of Woodstock for about the last 2.5 years. We have had some very good success with organizing partners, such as Stewardship Oxford, thank you very much, Ducks Unlimited Canada, Upper Thames River Conservation Authority, Intact Insurance, Woodstock Environmental Advisory Committee, and of course the City of Woodstock. Brick Ponds picture that you see now is a design showing the watershed of the entire Brick Ponds drainage area, which comprises approximately 5 square kilometers of land. And interestingly enough, I chose this old photograph of the city showing what the Brick Ponds watershed used to look like quite a few years ago. Now a good portion of the upper watershed is completely built up, And I would imagine within the next few years, considering how successful Woodstock has been at attracting development, that the rest of the watershed will be urbanized as well. So as it turns out, Brick Ponds Wetlands is considered to be one of Canada's largest urban wetlands. I haven't been able to determine yet whether it's the largest, but I would imagine your tourist department would be pretty interested if it were. So Brick Ponds Wetlands is a project, or is a piece of land that has been built around, has been used quite a bit back in the mid-1800s to develop brick material for building here in Woodstock. But during the decades following, much of the wetland has grown back into reed canary grass and a plant called Phragmites, which has really been infested in the entire area. So on this photograph, you may be able to see the tracks of a machine that we used about a year ago to treat the Phragmites. We had great success with it, and plan to do a follow-up spray treatment in September of this year over dry land. The whole project that I'll show you next is in the same location. And this photograph shows the stamped professional engineer design that I was able to get put together with our staff at Ducks Unlimited. Also with help from Stewardship Oxford and your staff and Upper Thames River Conservation Authority to get the proper permitting, which we should have within the next few days. I just wanted to mention that the City of Woodstock has been very helpful in this process to move forward a restoration project that really, I think, is a gem as far as natural area in the City of Woodstock is concerned, and a location that will actually end up being a very even more of a naturalized area, but also a little more accessible to the public, hopefully in the future, should we be able to get a trail of minimal type of trail through the area to allow some public access at some point in the future. This type of work is being done, as I said earlier, in a watershed approach. So the idea being that with this restoration of this portion of Brick Ponds wetlands, the water flowing through the system should actually help increase the quality of water in the Thames River basin. And also, this kind of work would be supportive of groups like the Thames River Anglers Association and other fishing groups, and a variety of other conservation organizations that are each doing their part to increase fish populations in our area and improve the natural heritage of the Thames River watershed. I ask that once you've reviewed the agreement and all the information regarding this phase of restoration work, that I have a contractor lined up to do the work during the month of March, so that this is a project that gets done in really good time. I thank you for your attention and for all your help with everything on this project. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and it's so encouraging to see you here again. This is not your first time before the citizens of Woodstock and this council giving us updates on the project. We have an item later in the agenda that also deals with this, and I want to thank you and extend the thanks to all the partners that you have involved in this project. And in the near future, it's exciting that citizens and other businesses will also be able to get involved as well. At this point, any questions of council? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Our next delegation is Marnie Kramer regarding 65 Wellington Street. Welcome.
Hi guys, I'm Marnie Kramer. I am part owner of Scotch and Lace, as well as my business partner over there, Alicia Hummel. For a lot of you who don't know what Scotch and Lace is, we are a clothing store. We operate currently out of a really cute house over on Princess Street. We've been in business for 2 years now. We also have a home studio that we make our own products, as well as an online shop that we actually ship coast to coast. As for people who have never been in the shop, I'm awfully proud of what we have accomplished in a very short period of time. Ever since we have opened our doors, we've had lineups out the doors from people in the community who are so happy that we have come here. They don't have to go out of town shopping anymore. They spend their money here. And not only that, but we're actually every month getting more and more people in the shop from the community, but also from out of town. We have so many loyal customers from Toronto, from Kitchener, from London, from all various parts of Ontario coming because they want to see the cute little shop that's in the house. And I think that speaks volumes to the brand that we have created. Every month our sales are going up and up and up. And as someone who has lived here my whole life and has fond memories of when the downtown was vibrant and has seen it go up and down, like, I'm so proud of what we've accomplished. And I think I'm coming here tonight and to say, I think everyone here should be proud of what we have done. I'm a bit emotional. The house was sold on us on January 14th. We were asked to leave. Our lease would not be renewed. Unfortunately, as a lot of you know, that does not leave us much time to relocate, apply for permits, and whatnot. As it stands right now, if we want to move what has become our brand, which is the house, there is only one house available, which is the house that we're speaking about tonight on Wellington Street, which is only one block off the current zoning for retail. It is already zoned R2, which does, as you already are probably already aware, allows for a home-based business, but we're just asking for a change. If there was another house that was zoned properly, by all means, we would totally entertain that idea. It's not just like we're two girls who are like, that's our house, like, please. Like, we just feel like we are out of options. I know the downtown has become a very emotional topic with a lot of people. We support the downtown 100%. I have people, especially the people that come from out of town, they always come and say, where can I grab a cup of coffee? Where can I have a bite to eat? You know, where can I go while I'm in town? I always send them downtown, you know. I am forever promoting local, and just because I am not on Dundas does not mean I don't drive money down to Dundas. And vice versa, I think it works both ways. The people and the relationships with the business owners who are on Dundas, a lot of them do support our request. A lot of them have said, you know, we support you, and we all network and we all collaborate together. That being said, we did go down and look at multiple places on Dundas Street, and in a nutshell, anything that is affordable is way too small, and I can honestly say it would put us out of business. We can't stock the amount of products that we're selling so quickly and stay in business. And then on the flip side of it is anything that is big enough is literally triple the rent. Like literally, like we have done our homework on Dundas, and as it stands as of today, there is no options available to us on Dundas. Even ones that might kind of work need a humongous renovation. That could take who knows how long. You know, we have to be out at the end of April, so that's not even feasible for us at that point. So I guess we're coming kind of with our hearts on our sleeve tonight and saying, I think we do offer a very valuable business to this community. We have huge plans for the future. We just want to keep growing our made in-house products, and I think that in turn will bring more. Like, we want to do more shows, bring more people in, and like I think the more we build our business, the more we can send more people downtown, the more we can collaborate. Like, I mean, there's, I it's hard to put into words, but I do know that there's been a lot of chatter at the shop and people coming in the last few days that it's been upsetting. I know that the BIA really, truly wants us downtown. I know we touched on it on Tuesday night, but we are BIA where we are currently located, and the BIA has not once in the last year, they don't support us right now. I would love more than anything to work with them. By all means, please come. It's a two-way street. I would love for you to just look at what we are doing. If you want change in this city, I think you need to embrace it. You know, we got to work Whatever we're doing now is not working. So let's look at the businesses that are working successfully and say, hey, what are they doing? Let's work together. Thank you.
Say that. Thank you. Questions of council? Okay, seeing none. Our next delegation is Alicia Hummel regarding 65 Wellington Street. Welcome.
Thank you. Just to kind of round out what Marnie was saying, I'm co-owner of Scotch and Lace, and I just have some excerpts from comments from customers, some letters that I think were sent to some of the council. So this is an excerpt from a customer of ours from Kitchener. Many customers come from near and far to shop at Scotch and Lace, and I can only expect their experience is similar to mine. They don't drive to Woodstock, shop at Scotch and Lace, and leave. What they leave is money in your city, supporting businesses in your city, often at the recommendation of Marnie and Lish. From the moment you step through the pink door at Scotch and Lace, you know you have landed in a unique shop. The charm of the century-old home is not lost on visitors to the store. Yes, visitors, because that is how you are made to feel. This charm, which is matched by the selection of clothing expertly displayed in the various rooms, creates an atmosphere unmatched by chain stores. This charm and atmosphere could not be replicated in a strip mall or storefront location. The relocation, which as stated earlier, has the potential to be extremely costly and disruptive to this business. But Marnie and Lish have approached change as an opportunity to grow their business rather than focusing on the negative aspects of such a move. Remaining in close proximity to their current location should minimize the impact of the move, but equally as important to them is to find a home for their business, where they can replicate the charm they have created in their Princess Street location. Despite not being a taxpayer in Woodstock, I hope to someday soon be one. This retail location has made me feel at home in Woodstock, and as if Woodstock could be my home. I would hate to see this small business shut down because it was forced to move from its home. This business needs a home, not a location. Woodstock needs this business. Marnie and Lish exemplify what it means to be a local business owners and support other local businesses. They support Woodstock, and now Woodstock needs to support them. And I have a few comments that were taken from the petition we had sent to some customers. And this is from a customer in Ottawa. I may not live in Woodstock now, but I did grow up here. Scotch and Lace is a real gem. It attracts people from all over and is constantly promoting local, from amazing restaurants and coffee shops, tourism hashtags, dressing TV personalities, participating in parades, and even dressing up as E.T. and sneaking around to promote all the local businesses. These girls are Woodstock. Their business needs a place that reflects their personality. One lot off the zone line with a street all zoned retail is clearly a solid argument for change. City Council and the Mayor are voted to represent the people of Woodstock and promote its businesses. Change the zoning. Woodstock needs this little shop and the positive local promotion these ladies offer. Paint the town pink, ladies. It's a customer from London. I travel from London to shop at Scotch and Lace. Shopping there is more than just shopping. It's a great experience. They are easy to get to and parking is a dream. When I ask for a coffee shop to stop at, they always send me downtown. This is a Woodstock residence. Let's give these hardworking ladies a break here. This is not your average clothing store. It is a boutique. Apparently a hair salon operated in the same location for years. Let's not turn away a great shopping opportunity. Let's invest in Woodstock. I am a huge fan of the downtown, having my family own 421 Dundas Street since 1921, but this shop is very different and unique. It's my hope our city councilors will agree with the zone change. This customer is also from Woodstock. The first fashion-forward clothing boutique that has ever made me excited to shop in Woodstock. It's one of, if not the only, local shop that I go into just to look around. There is an immensely strong community presence fostered around this shop, and that is why it's so fitting and necessary for Scotch and Lace to find a new home in one of our city's beautiful old homes. They truly make you feel like you are perusing your friend's place for something to borrow. Moving the storefront to a commercial space would kill the vibe completely. If we are looking to beautify our city and attract visitors, allowing this boutique to set up shop here seems like a no-brainer. They are strong supporters of other local gems that Woodstock is slowly but surely getting. Let's keep on this roll and support our local business owners who are trying to make Woodstock better for all. Again, this is a customer from Woodstock. As someone who works in downtown Woodstock, I fully understand the importance of both location and brand values. When opening our salon, many locations have been looked at until we found the one. You know, the one when you walk inside and can suddenly visualize your dreams right in front of your eyes. That inspiring moment when all your hard work washes away in happy tears and a sigh of relief. This is it. Sorry.
Questions of council? Seeing none, thank you. Our next delegation is Jennifer Running regarding 65 Wellington Street. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jennifer Running, and I am the co-owner of the property 65 Wellington Street North with my husband, Derek Running. I would like to address all of you tonight to reconfirm our property's compliance with the C3 zoning provisions and to hopefully alleviate any concerns any of you might have that might affect your vote tonight. I have just myself today received a copy of support actually for the approval of our request from a local lawyer, Melissa Bowen, in which she speaks directly to some of the points that the city planner has said were of concern. Actually, this support letter was unsolicited by us, and I've actually never met Melissa or spoke with her. I believe all of you have a copy of this letter, which came in yesterday, and I will refer to some of the points in her letter later in my discussion. So at first, I'd like to just briefly follow up on the parking issue that was brought up in Tuesday's meeting. If anyone has drove by our lot, you'll see that the city has actually cut out curbs to accommodate the parking on the George Street side. They've cut out the curbs and parking signs have been installed indicating that this is actually a legally separate second laneway for the parking and that it's fully enforceable and legally approved by the city and has been for many, many years. I myself have actually been through the Section 5 of the zoning bylaws that deal with the parking provisions. And from what I can tell, between the actual bylaw put in place in 1978, as well as a grandfathering provision in the parking zoning bylaws, I believe this parking for this area is fully allowed and protected without having anything separately from the city. In any case, between the 4 parking spaces that we legally have off Wellington Street, which are the 2 covered garage spaces and the 2 outside spaces, in addition to the parking on George Street, however that's located, meaning that we can actually move them forward, that they're fully on our property. We are well within the requirements of C3 zoning, with no better or no worse parking than any other existing C3 property that the city has previously approved. So secondly, I would like to address the city planner's comments and concerns that our zone change request is not in compliance with the low-density residential policies of the area and that the property outlines the central area to where they would like to keep commercial businesses. I'd like to remind Council that this property is located and fronts Wellington Street, a main street into the business core area. It's 1 lot away from the C3 Entrepreneurial District and is a block away from the Central Core, 4 properties from where they currently exist. I obviously respect the rules and the planner's comments, and if our property was located in the middle of Van Ave or further down Riddell Street, in the middle of any of those residential areas, I would completely support and agree with their position. However, our property is on the fringes of the residential border. It's surrounded by residential, C3 and CF zone property, and actually is very well suited to operate as a business, as has been proven by the hair salons 30 plus years in operation there. I actually would state that it's probably better, in fact, than some of the side streets that other C3 properties have been already granted, given the visibility of a storefront to the traffic that flows onto Wellington Street into the downtown core. By locating a boutique store highly visible to traffic entering the downtown core will in all likelihood actually increase business to both Scotch and Lace itself and further attract, not take away any additional business to the downtown, given its prime location and close proximity to the downtown area. Our application has not received any complaints by neighbors to put Scotch and Lace into the property, only much support, and I believe this location would enhance the business growth to the downtown and not hinder it in any way. Finally, I'd like to say that I believe the financial and community benefits to the city of Woodstock, if they approve the C3 zoning change, far outweigh any perceived negatives that the BIA or anyone else currently has surrounding it. Approving C3 zoning of our building results in an increased property tax basis and corresponding revenues to the city. Approving the zoning change guarantees that the unique retailer, such as Scotch and Lace, stays in Woodstock and near the downtown, 100% supporting and contributing to the vitality and viability of the downtown core, which is 100% consistent with the mandate of the provincial policy statement and the purpose of the official plan. Melissa Bowen reiterates her support and opinion that the request for this zoning change is entirely in compliance with most of the strategic policy initiatives set out in the land use policies for both the County of Oxford and the City of Woodstock. Denial of C3 zoning could have a potentially negative impact on the downtown core and city through the loss of these increased property taxes in the revenues, as well as Scotch and Lace's retail business. As a currently R2 zone property, another home-based business, such as a hair salon, a professional services business, etc., could operate from our property. However, our C3 zoning request has been made specifically to allow this retail store, Scotch and Lace, to operate as, for us as the owners, their brand and business is consistent with our desire as property owners to maintain the original historic charm of the building, and the time frame matches both theirs and our requirement. Approving the zoning change will guarantee for many years to come that Scotch and Lace will remain near the downtown core, contributing to its growth by continuing to draw many local and outside customers to the area. Their store popularity is clearly shown through their online petition submitted. And as property owners, my husband and I have drafted a long-term tenancy agreement with a purchase option for Scotch and Lace, should the zoning change be approved, showing our commitment as owners to keeping this unique business in the city as long as possible and preventing a disruptive business move, such as what's happened here, from happening again. With the concerns brought forth by the city planner addressed, we respectfully disagree with her opinion that our C3 request is not compliant and in accordance with the city plan, and that only economic benefits to the city will recur as a result of the change. With the support of Melissa Bauer's letter, as well as numerous other people here that are here tonight to support it, we ask the council to vote in favor of our zoning change and request to C3 for 65 Wellington Street North. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions of council? Councillor Talbot?
Thank you, Worship. Through to Jennifer. Jennifer, when you purchased the house in December, what was the purpose of it?
My husband and I own several historic homes within the downtown community, as well as we own a commercial property as well. We purchased it because of the opportunities. There was opportunities to have a business there. We love Century Homes. Our passion is to revitalize Century Homes. So with the opportunities, many that there are as R2 zonings that present, it was an opportunity that presented to us. It came very quickly. We bought it from an estate, and it just matched our business purposes as property owners, and we saw the opportunities to see this as such. Coincidentally, we just bought it hadn't even started anything with it, and then Scotch and Lace posted a request to see if there was any local businesses that would support it. We are literally 4 houses around the corner. We're like, hey, C3. At the time when we started this process, I didn't realize C3 would be such a concern for everyone. I thought we were right on the street and everything else. But I think it's consistent with the building's past usage. It's operated as a business in the main floor for several years. We are not changing anything about the outside of the business. We're not changing anything at all. We're keeping the same outline of the main floor. Main floor will continue to operate as a business with a residential upstairs. And it's honestly because of the retail issue. We've spoke with many of the city planners. There's no compliance that allows us to keep it R2 with a special provision, or we would. And that's why, that's for the request. It's a mutual goal of both of ours to keep preserve the historic nature of the building.
It's definitely a beautiful house, if I might continue. So when you purchased the house, did you look into the zoning at all? Like, would it had not have hit you as being two residences instead of having a business in there? Or possibly even 4 residences, I mean, to...
No, it would never have occurred to us for 4 residents. It was zoned R2. We understood the R2 nature of the property when we purchased it with the home-based business. I know it sounds odd, but if anyone here is a property owner and buys properties as part of their business, it was an opportunity. We thought it was an excellent building. It's consistent with what we as property owners would typically buy and restore, and it had great opportunity. Like I said, we own and this, and it arose, and that's why we're here today.
Thank you. Further questions of council? Councillor Schadenberg.
Yeah, question through to the mayor, to Mrs. Running, the delegate. Being an up and down duplex currently, what does the tenant on the second floor think about having a retail business on the main floor, unless it's vacant currently?
The whole building is vacant currently, and under our current proposal with Scotch and Lace, they are actually proposing to rent the entire business and have an owner occupy the upstairs. So, as I said in my statement, we are actually proposing a tenancy agreement to them for the entire building, including the living quarters upstairs. Again, keeping it in exact same format, besides some updates. It's a 1960s building. But keeping it in the exact same format that it currently exists as an owner-occupied. Unfortunately, owner-occupied doesn't include retail, but in that same manner, with the option for them to purchase it in the future, if they so choose, to ensure that they can always stay there, if that is what they choose to do. Am I answering your question? So there won't be a separate tenant. The tenant is Scotch and Lace for the entire building.
Thank you. Further questions of council? Seeing none, thank you very much. Our next delegation is Pauline Bouquet regarding 65 Wellington Street. Welcome.
Good evening, councillors. Your Honor, it's Busick. That's okay. You only know me as Pauline. 36 years ago, my husband bought a building and started his business here in Woodstock. 14 years ago, I started a business in that same building in this friendly city. We opened something unique, something different, something that would give back to this city and county and give what this city and county had to offer. Something local, farm to table, is what everybody calls it now. We became a destination location that is now bringing customers from all over into the city. Through the years, we have recommended places to shop, places to eat, places to stay, things to do. Supporting locally has always been our philosophy. It brings everyone involved some sort of success, being part of a community that supports local. Scotch and Lace now have been part of our community for 2 years. Marnie and Lish are here doing something unique, doing something different, and giving back to our community. Part of their uniqueness comes from being in that small house on Princess Street. Unfortunately, now they have to move. Trying to find another location similar to the genre that they have established has become quite difficult, as rental prices and locations are a commodity. Looking for something cost-effective is always bottom line in the financial part of any business. So you can well imagine their joy when they found a place where they could eliminate some of their expenses. It is easy to be negative. Focusing on this negativity will mean that we will lose a small, independent, viable business in this city that we need. Being an independent business owner is difficult as it is. As a resident, consumer, and a retired business owner in the city of Woodstock, I believe that we are not doing enough to encourage our local entrepreneurs. Let us help them stay in business, giving them a positive format to continue to succeed in this community. Let us help one another to succeed. Let this be a call to action for all of us to keep these young women, to help these young women to continue their successful business here in this friendly city of Woodstock. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Questions of council?
Thank you.
Seeing none, thank you very much. And our next delegation is Virginia Armstrong, manager of the BIA, regarding the 65 Wellington Street. Welcome.
Thank you. Mayor Birch, city councilors, staff, and guests. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the Downtown Woodstock BIA and its Board of Management regarding the application for a zone change at 65 Wellington Street North. The Downtown Woodstock Business Improvement Association recently recommended that City Council uphold the county official plan policies and by directing a use of this nature to be in the downtown. The BIA has always taken the position of retaining the zoning as indicated in the county's official plan. Our downtown is suffering. In 2018, there were 20 empty storefronts on Dundas alone. The city recognized the importance of downtown revitalization and put $150,000 towards the hiring of a consultant this year to create a downtown revitalization strategic plan. The BIA has been actively working with the city on projects this past year that will assist in the success of this revitalization plan. First Impressions Community Exchange, Digital Main Street grant programs, and beautifications, to name a few. The downtown is now in a state of positive change as vacant properties are being purchased, upgraded, and filled with new businesses. Growth is happening, and we are so excited. A positive downtown creates a sense of community. We want to encourage businesses to come and be a part of our downtown. The BIA board recognizes what a great business Scotch and Lace is and thinks that it would be fantastic if they would relocate their business to our downtown, especially on Dundas Street. The BIA feels that rezoning residential zones to entrepreneurial zones is detrimental to our collective goals and efforts of making our downtown vibrant again. There is a residential shortage in Woodstock, as we all know. Changing a residential into a business for retail is not helping with that. The downtown is the heart of our community, and it is up to us all to keep it alive by supporting, nurturing, and protecting it in the best way that we can. To self-inflict the stability of the downtown by rezoning residential to entrepreneurial will not only set precedent for others, it will also undermine our vision and goals for our downtown revitalization. BIAs are more than banners and benches. We are community builders, implementing the 4 pillars of the community: economic development, events and promotions, leadership and management, and physical improvements for the betterment of the whole community. Thank you. And I introduce Cheryl Ann Lovey of the BIA, is speaking as a business owner.
Mayor Birch, councillors, everyone else. I am not only the chair of the Downtown BIA and a business owner and a property owner in our downtown, but I'm also a customer of Scotch and Lace. And I do believe that Scotch and Lace is a wonderful asset to our community. I love the store. I love the people that own the store. I think it's incredible. I really, really do. Unfortunately, as a BIA chair and as a business owner, my position is solid in that we should not support this zone change so that we can have them in our downtown if at all possible. It's certainly the spot for them. I believe it would be great for their business. And I think that our downtown properties, as a business owner, are suffering from the fact that we have 20 empty stores. I drove down there this morning at 6 a.m. and I counted 15 empty stores myself. And this isn't helping our city at all, and it's not helping our downtown. And I believe that supporting a business like this is important. I don't think we should be without it. I hope that nothing happens in that regard. If it does, it does. I just hope that isn't the case, because we really do love Scotch and Lace, and we love the people that run it, and they're doing a fantastic job. As a business owner and a chair, I still believe that we need to support our downtown, and we are collectively working together to build this downtown. We have spent a fortune and a lot of time putting this all together so that we can have our beautification plan and make our downtown better, and this would just add huge accolades to our downtown. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions of council? Seeing none, thank you very much. And our next delegation, we have our CAO, David Creary, as well as our Director of Administrative Services, the Treasurer, Patrice Hilderly, and we'll have an overview of the 2019 Revenue Fund budget. Welcome.
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. On behalf of administration, we are pleased to present to you tonight a brief overview of the 2019 Revenue Fund budget. Council was provided with a copy of the budget this evening. Council will review the budget in detail over two special meetings next week, Tuesday, February 26th, Thursday, February 28th. The meetings take place 5:15 p.m. here in council chambers. The meetings are open to the public. The public's welcome to attend. The meetings will also be live streamed if you wish to watch from your computer. The departments that will be reviewed in detail by council on each evening are listed here. The Police Board, Library Board, Art Gallery Board budgets will be reviewed in detail at the March 7th council meeting. And this evening begins a 1-month review period for the budget deliberation, and we have a tentative schedule for approval of the budget on March 21st, which is a regular council meeting. So, on to the base budget. The expenditures in the 2019 base budget are approximately $78.8 million. It's about a 2.4% increase over 2018. The tax levy is just a little bit higher than $56 million, which is a 4.4% increase, but results in a tax rate decrease of 0.42%, which is a result of reassessment and assessment growth. So the tax rate is actually going down. This chart provides you a little bit of historical information on where our previous tax levy increases have been over recent years. 2018 certainly stands out as a little bit of an aberration. The $3.5 million is about a $1.2 million higher than what we've seen in recent years, and that $1.2 million is entirely related to a proactive approach that City Council took last year to debt management, contributions to a number of reserves to plan for capital expenditures that are known to be coming in forecast years, and to avoid the need to finance those expenditures with debt. So in 2019, our base budget levy increase is consistent with historical norms at about $2.4 million. Where are the largest increases in the 2019 base budget? Well, the largest is the Woodstock Police Service, followed by Parks Operations. Parks Operations has gone up significantly, and it's got a lot to do with the additional costs of Cowan Park. Public Works is next at $363,000. The costs of servicing debt are also rising by $260,000 over last year. That brings our total debt servicing annually to about $2 million, and about a quarter of that is defrayed through contributions from development charges and things like the Industrial Land Reserve. Cowan Park Indoor facility is resulting in about a $200,000 increase to the base budget. And this is really more accurately about a $250,000 increase because we were financing $50,000 from last year from a reserve. So the sum total of all the other departments works out to a further $298,000. A few notable increases in the 2019 base budget is an additional $75,000 pursuant to the agreement the city has with the UTRCA, Conservation Authority, for the public use of the Pittock North Shore and the dam crossing. Cowan Park operations as a seasonal facility with limited hours of operation is the base budget. And an additional $77,000 in reimbursement to the county for the waiver of fees for residences dropping off large articles and construction waste at the Enviro Depot. Now, there are a number of recommendations for additions to base budget, and we're just going to very quickly brush over the surface of these. This year, we're proposing a further $200,000 increase to the asphalt resurfacing reserve. This would bring us, I think, to year 3 of a 5-year plan to increase contributions to this reserve, to raise a further $1 million annually to improve road conditions in the city, as well as a capital levy, which we're suggesting council consider on a per $100,000 basis. Council will remember that there are 2 large building projects in our capital forecast. One is the community complex roof replacement with about a $1.2 million estimated cost. And the second is the Civic Center Arena rink and board replacement with an estimated cost of about $800,000. Financing both of those projects will require the use of debt unless we can defray some of this cost through reserve contributions. Last year, Council selected a $100,000 capital levy as a one-time item, and that has been put into a reserve for the complex roof replacement. So we're suggesting Council continue to consider setting money aside for these planned expenditures. There are quite a number of recommendations for staffing additions to the base budget. Health and safety assistant as a 4-month temporary full-time position. There's a recommendation for an engineering department reorganization that will result in the division of that department into 2 segments, replacing the work superintendent position with a new department head proposed to be titled a public works director. We have a request for a mechanic lead hand, which is an assignment. It's not a new position. Public Works is asking for 3 additional summer students to maintain the growing infrastructure in the city. In the Parks Department, there's a request for 1 new parks supervisor, 1 full-time skilled laborer, and 1 seasonal laborer. In the museum and art gallery, there's a request to convert the communications and facility rental coordinator from part-time to full-time, add additional custodial hours. Marketing and special events is requesting the temporary full-time communications and special events assistant to be converted to full-time. There is a request for additional part-time lead hand support for transit during the evening hours and weekends. The Administrative Services Department is requesting an asset management analyst. And finally, the Building Department is requesting 1 additional seasonal student. There are a number of service level changes that are proposed and recommended. The first is the Cowan Park. The base budget only provides for the operation of that building during weekday evening hours and weekend hours only during major rentals. Those hours will not support the opening of the walking track that Council received a report on recently to extend those pilot hours. So there is a proposal to convert that building to full-time hours during the weekday as well as weekends. There is also a proposal to provide weekly recycling. There are 3 options for Council to consider, and this is a report on Council's agenda with more detail this evening. Winter sidewalk maintenance, again, there is a report on the council agenda this evening for council to consider. And finally, there is a public transit rerouting study to explore extending transit into currently underserviced areas of the city. There's a number of miscellaneous items that are recommendations to additions to base budget. A capital plan budgeting software, Great Plains software integration, the development of an intranet system, as well as additional funds to support the physician recruitment program for marketing, recruitment events, travel, and to establish a reserve for program delivery. Finally, the Heritage Committee has requested a further year to continue the Dundas Street Heritage Building Inventory. And with that, I'll turn it over to our treasurer.
Thank you. We're just going to give you a very brief overview of our financing in this part of the presentation. We have a number of revenue sources available to us as a city. We have grants, user fees, to mention a couple, but by far the largest piece comes from the property taxes. This year we're almost 73%, which is not unusually high, but that's typically where it is. Now, of that percentage, this chart shows you where the 2019 levy, based on the base budget, will be spent. The largest two pieces, obviously, are emergency services. We have our police at about almost 26%. Fire is at about 15.5%. Our roads are about 14%. Parks and Rec, 10%. And the balance is made up over a number of different areas. Now, our 2019 assessment has increased by 5.1% over 2018, and this increase is made up of two pieces. When the reassessment was introduced effective the beginning of 2017, any increases in property were phased in over 4 years. So 2.4% of our assessment is related to this phase-in. 2.7% is new assessment and growth that was realized during 2018. Now, we'll talk about the tax impact on the average home. As Mr. Curry mentioned earlier, the tax rate has actually gone down by 0.42%. But the average assessment for a single-family home in 2019 is about $251,000, and this compares to about $247,000 in 2018. It's important to note that these numbers are not market value by any stretch of the imagination. They are current value assessment provided to us by the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation. So based on this information and the tax rate calculation, the tax change for the average home assessment is an increase of about $29 this year, or 1.2% when compared to 2018. As we noted earlier, there are a number of proposed additions to the budget which would be financed through the tax levy. And if they were all approved, the increase on the average home would be 2.96%, or about $69.50. And as we end every presentation, it's important to remember that there is no typical increase that people can look at. The increase or decrease in your taxes is directly related to how much your assessment has changed over the previous year. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions of council? Seeing none, we have a lot to digest. Now, the overview for the viewers at home, all of the information will be available on the city website. All of the detail, staff have been working very diligently over the last few months putting this together. So again, I would encourage any members of the public to attend those special budget meetings on February 26th and 28th, and again at our regular meeting on March 7th, and to stay informed and stay up to date. And there's a lot of options within all of the revenue fund budget, and we'll get to a few of those other reports that were mentioned by the CAO as we go further in the agenda. So at this point in time, it's consideration of delegation, and we have, for all of the delegations that we've had tonight, There is no specific resolutions that are required for the brick ponds. That'll be dealt with under Report B4 from departments for the agreement. And for the delegations regarding 65 Wellington Street, we'll get to those under the planning section of the reports. And of course, for the budget, we're not ready to approve that until the final meeting, March 21st. So we have about 1 month to find all of those pennies and dollars to make sure we deliver our efficient services. So the next order of business is the consideration of planning reports, and our first planning report is a zone change requested by Dr. Humphrey for a medical establishment on Dundas Street. Councillor Talbot.
Thank you, Worship. I'll move that Woodstock City Council approve the application for lands described as Lot 11 and Part Lot 12, Plan 213 in the City of Woodstock to rezone the subject lands from Highway Commercial Zone C4 to Special Highway Commercial Zone C4 Special, or SP, to recognize the existing frontage of the property as well as the location of the existing building and parking area, and further that any comments received from the public were reviewed and considered before the decision was made in relation to this planning matter.
Thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Lauder. Ms. Hashler, welcome.
Thank you. So the first application for zone change is for lands located at 748 Dundas. And as Councillor Talbot indicated, the applicant is applying for a zone change to rezone the lands from Highway Commercial Zone C4 to Special Highway Commercial Zone C4 Special. And the applicant is basically, I can highlight the relief that the applicant is requesting, but it's just generally to recognize the existing location of the building on the site. And so in recognizing, if council is in favor of the application, recognizing the reduced provisions will allow for a medical clinic on the subject property. So the list of relief that's required is to reduce the lot frontage from 20 meters to 18 meters, front yard depth from 7.5 meters to 2.6 meters, interior side yard width from 7.5 meters to 0.4 meters and 5.5 meters. The distance from the center line on Dundas Street from 20 meters to 12 meters, and to reduce the total number of parking spaces from 9 spaces to 7 spaces, and to reduce the parking area setback to the lot line from 1.5 meters to 0. The applicant has indicated that the medical clinic that he's proposing to be on site is simply, he's a surgeon and he would like to have an office. There will be 2 patient rooms and then an office and a lunchroom, and he plans just to be there 2 days a week, and also it would just be himself and 1 admin assistant. So he doesn't feel that he needs a significant amount of parking. No exterior renovations are being proposed. So generally, staff are supportive of the application. Through agency circulation, we receive supportive comments from the building department, and we received no objections or concerns from the engineering department. Generally, in our review, staff are of the opinion that the application is supportable by the provincial policy statement policies as it promotes an efficient use of land, resources existing infrastructure, and the proposal supports economic development as well as mix and range of employment uses within the settlement area. The medical clinic is already a permitted use within the C4 zone, which is the zoning for the entire area. And we are of the opinion also that it's in keeping with the official plan. In light of our review, we would recommend favorable consideration.
Thank you. Questions of council? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. And our next item on the agenda is the application for zone change for 60 Kent Street. Councillor Lauder.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council approve the application for a zone change for lands described as Part Block 7, Block W, Plan 49 in the City of Woodstock to rezone from Local Commercial Zone C1 to an Entrepreneurial District Zone C3, and further that any comments received from the public were reviewed and considered before the decision was made in relation to this planning matter.
Thank you. A seconder, Councillor Accioni. Ms. Hashler.
Thank you. The next application was submitted by Brian Zilke for lands located at 60 Kent Street. And the applicant, as Councillor Louder pointed out, the applicant is proposing a zone change to rezone the subject lands from local commercial zone to entrepreneurial district zone to facilitate the conversion of the existing building for a retail store. The zone change will permit a retail store in addition to the full range of uses permitted in the C3 zone. The applicant has indicated to staff that their intent initially was to have a cannabis retail store in the building. However, since the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario has released some more of the regulations around the cannabis retail stores, it's become apparent that at this point in time, that will not be the situation. However, the applicant indicated on Tuesday night at the public meeting that they still want to pursue the zone change because they'd like to give the property more flexibility by allowing the C3 zoning uses as opposed to the C1 zone. The C1 zone is fairly limited in the types of uses that it allows, and the lands are designated entrepreneurial district, and so we think it's appropriate to rezone it to a C3 zone and allow for those types of uses in that area. We circulated the application to the agencies, and the building department indicated that there is a minimum amount of parking on the site. However, it is considered legal non-conforming, and therefore they were supportive of the application. I should note too, and I think I failed to mention this on Tuesday night, but there was a letter that was included with the report, and it was from a neighboring property owner that was concerned about the proposed cannabis retail store use, but I've already spoken to that. So in general, our opinion would be that the application is in keeping with the provincial policy statement as it promotes economic development and competitiveness in the downtown area, and it also contributes to a mix and range of uses permitted in the area. Additionally, the proposed uses will help to enhance the vitality and the viability of the downtown. Planning staff are also satisfied that the application is consistent with the entrepreneurial district policies of the official plan, as this area is intended to accommodate a range of residential uses as well as smaller scale commercial business and institutional uses. In light of our review, we would recommend favorable consideration.
Thank you. Questions of council? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. And our next item on the agenda is the application for zone change for 65 Wellington Street. Councillor Tate.
I'm going to move that Woodstock City Council approve the application for zone change for lands described as Part Block 15, Block M, Plan 50 in the City of Woodstock that are proposed to be rezoned from Residential 2 to C3, and further that any comments received from the public were reviewed and considered before the decision was made in relation to this planning matter.
Thank you. And a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Lauder. Ms. Hashler.
Thank you. So the next application is an application for a zone change for lands located at 65 Wellington Street North, and it was submitted by Derek and Jennifer Running. The applicants have requested a zone change to rezone the subject lands from Residential Zone 2 to Entrepreneurial District Zone C3 to permit a retail store on the ground floor of the existing dwelling. And the zone change will permit a retail store in addition to the full range of the uses identified in the C3 zone. The applicant has indicated that the intent of the zone change is to accommodate a women's clothing retail store, as we've already heard tonight. They are hoping to put that on the ground floor of the existing building and then maintain the second floor for a residential unit. The subject lands are located on the southwest corner of Wellington Street North and George Street. And there is a mix of, it's predominantly residential uses with funeral home to the north. And it's just, the property is located just outside of the city's downtown. As council is aware, the subject lands are designated low-density residential, which these lands are generally intended for low-rise, low-density development, singles, semis, towns, duplexes, townhouses. I included in my report a review where I included also policies that speak to areas where we do allow for commercial uses in or non-residential uses in residential areas. We consider them neighborhood serving uses in residential areas as well as non-residential uses in residential areas. And generally these types of uses are small-scale local convenient shopping facilities as well as institutional type uses. So it's definitely not the type of use that is being proposed through this application, being a retail store. Additionally, I included policies that speak to the strategic initiatives of the city, in that it's important to protect the downtown as a major place of employment. And it also directs that the central area of the city will remain the most functionally diverse area. It'll serve as a primary business and administrative center in the county and will retain a viable retail district capable of meeting the shopping needs of residents of the city and surrounding areas. We circulated the application to the agencies that would have an interest in the application. And the building department indicated that yes, there was a hair salon in the property or at the property for I believe that they think it was around from the 1950s to the 1960s is when it was established. The proposed retail store is not a permitted use in the R2 zone. And the building department also felt that it was important for council to understand that we do have a lot of inquiries for commercial startups in residential zones. It was also indicated that the proposal indicates that there are 5 parking spaces or 6 parking spaces. The city building department indicated that there were 2 legal parking spaces. On Tuesday night, the owner brought up a bylaw that we had to research that was related to parking, and it was the owner's understanding that it was a boulevard parking agreement. And the building department pulled the bylaw that was stated that night, and it's our understanding that and if there is a boulevard parking agreement, we couldn't find it, but the bylaw that was quoted on Tuesday night simply is a citywide parking bylaw that speaks to the prohibition of motor vehicles being left on municipal or private property without authority. So generally, our feeling is that the application is not consistent with the official plan policies. Generally, we would recommend that an application undergo an official plan amendment. However, in this case and similar cases in the past, when an official plan amendment would be required and we can't give favorable consideration, we don't recommend necessarily to the applicant that they should pursue both the official plan amendment and the zone change, just because it takes longer and it's costlier, and we already know that we can't support it. And so generally, if the applicant indicates that they would like to pursue the application anyway, we recommend that they go through a zone change to see if they can get the support of council. So that's just to explain why we didn't require them to go through an official plan amendment. We did receive a letter from a neighboring owner, and he indicated that he generally had questions, but he did also indicate that he had concerns about the parking, and he did raise the issue of traffic. So in light of our review of the policies, we generally don't think that the application is consistent with the provincial policy statement. We don't feel that it's in keeping with the existing development patterns in the city, and we don't feel that it's a form of orderly development. Additionally, we don't feel that the application is in keeping with the official plan, as I've already indicated, as commercial uses are not intended for residential areas. We worry that this would be precedent setting to allow for retail uses in residential areas. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself here. And we also, in the official plan, it also talks about the central area being a vibrant area. I should also point out that sometimes we it can be misunderstood that the downtown area is potentially is just Dundas Street, but this in fact is the entire area that we consider the downtown area. So we feel that it does span a significant area, and we do feel that there would be opportunities for this business to locate in any of those in some of those locations. In light of our review, we would recommend that the application not be approved.
Thank you. Questions of council? Councillor Fraser.
It's not really a question, it's more of a statement. And this is the first time I think I've agreed with our planner, and I cannot agree to approve this change for a number of reasons. And so you understand, the owners of this business, I applaud the fact that you're entrepreneurs and you're working hard to develop this. And I applaud the owners of the property for your forthright and thoughtfulness to take buildings and create them into something that's more feasible and usable. But I've been around for a long time, and it was a hairdressing shop that started in the 60s. I know that for a fact. My mother used to go there at one time. And, you know, and when I was on council in 2010, and again this time, I asked to be on the BIA board because I have a passion for the downtown core of Woodstock. And some of that passion came from probably the best years of my policing career, which was the first 5 to 10, when we walked the beat. And we knew everybody in that downtown core, and it was vibrant, and it was wonderful. And I still have a lot of friends from that. So I support the fact that we need to keep the businesses in the downtown core. I'm on the BIA board, and because I asked to be there, and this council agreed to let me be there. And I think we need to support the ideas, as what's been stated by our BIA director and the chair of the board, is that we need to, the city needs to concentrate on keeping our businesses and developments into that area. Maybe when we get a review completed by the consultant that we've hired, maybe there'll be some possibilities of expanding those boundaries to incorporate more of that. But as it stands right now, I can't agree to this change. And I don't want to see your business disappear. I want you to go forward. But I can't agree to this approval. And that's my position, and that's the basis of it. I could go on for another 10 minutes on this, but I won't. But, you know, I ask you to seek the assistance of the BIA, seek the assistance of our development commissioner. It's not just economics. They're there for everybody in this community.
They haven't even met them.
I'm sorry, ma'am, but you know, I will introduce you to him right after this meeting.
Awesome.
I know.
I appreciate. I'm glad you're staying and for explaining your reasoning. So for that, I appreciate that.
I'm sorry, please. This is not a time for delegations.
So that's my reasons for it. I will not support the approval of this, and I thank you for your forthright and, as usual, detailed reports when it comes to these matters. And this time we agreed with each other.
Thank you. Further questions of council? Councillor Tate.
I just have a comment. Do you want me to wait till after? No? The reason I'm supporting this application, and I'm fully aware of the downtown, what's going on, I've been here for quite a while. One of the reasons was this was not one block off of the BIA, it's one house. My concern is, and we've approved other ones that have left the downtown. We have a whole box mall that's full of retail, it's not downtown. But Oxford Source for Sports came to council and we had to change the zoning for it. They couldn't find something. And we approved that. I think it was my first term of council. But the other reason is they're just starting out. They've been 2 years. My concern is they haven't been able to find anything affordable for what they can, and they will leave. So we can say, yes, support the downtown, but if you can't afford to be in the downtown, then we lose the business, we lose the tax revenue, we lose those clients that are coming from out of town who are actually visiting our downtown. I don't think we're setting a precedent when it's one house away from where they would be allowed to operate. That's my normally I never go against planning, but this one I had to do. That's right.
Thank you. Further questions of council? Seeing none. Oh, Councillor Talbot.
Thank you, Worship. And I think what the public should know and what the owners should know, it's nothing, I think that there's not one of us in this room that doesn't agree that their business is a great business, and we're very thankful that they're in our community. I come from a downtown retail 47-year family, and remember the downtown when it was very vibrant and when it's gone through all the different things. And I actually think that we're, with a few additions into the downtown by some very forward-thinking businessmen who are bringing our downtown back to life. And it is a wonderful thing to see. And we have some new businesses. And they only got their notice a month ago. So, I mean, that hasn't been a big time. And I know that they're under a huge time constraint. But I think there are opportunities out there that with some assistance we can find them what they require in the specified area, and that they can continue on in business. And I don't think there's anyone here or in the community, I know of a couple of businessmen that probably would be helpful to them to be able to maybe guide them or show them. I think that it's a very supportive area. I understand that it's only one house out of the area, but as soon as we do it, it just continues to it's like a dam. You put one hole in it, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. If we're not going to support the zoning of the BIA, what we have given, we might as well not have it at all. And then you just might as well forget about what we have. And I think when I started on council, I had gone and asked for US Main Street. Main streets and communities are what bring people down to the core. And having traveled a lot of different places, they're downtowns. It's the grass, it's the gathering areas, it's the stores, it's the shops. What brings people into the community. And I have to support it. I sat on the BIA for last term of council, and I know we've have some bumps, but I believe that they work hard and that we're going to go forward. And I can't support approval as much as I think the business is a great business.
Thank you. Further questions of council? Seeing none, the motion we have on the floor right now is to approve the zone change for 65 Wellington Street. I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And opposed? Motion is defeated. Thank you. So, could we have a motion to not approve the application? To not approve. The clerk is saying, let's make sure we have everything proper. Councillor Fraser?
I'm not too sure of the wording, but the wording that's there? Okay. That Woodstock City Council not approve the application for the zone change for lands described as Part Block 15, Block M, Plan 50 in the City of Woodstock that are proposed to be rezoned from Residential Zone 2, R2, to an Entrepreneur District Zone C3. And further, that any comments received from the public were reviewed and considered before the decision was made in relation to this planning matter.
Thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Talbot. Further discussion? Seeing no, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? And opposed? And motion carries. Thank you. Our next item on the agenda is the application for draft plan of condominium for 71 Metcalf Street. Councillor Tate.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council advise County Council that the city supports the application for draft approval of a proposed condominium submitted by 259521 Ontario Incorporated, prepared by N.A. Geomatics, Inc., and dated January 4, 2019, for lands described as Part Lot 3, Metcalf Street, Lot 6, Reeve Street, Plan 47, in the city of Woodstock, and further that Woodstock City Council advise County Council that the city supports the application for exemption from the draft plan of condominium approval process submitted by 2595421 Ontario Incorporated, prepared by N.A. Geomatics, Inc., dated January 4, 2019, for lands described as Part Lot 3, Metcalf Street, Lot 6, Reeve Street, Plan 47, in the city of Woodstock, as all matters relating to the development have been addressed through the site plan approval process and registered site plan agreement with the city of Woodstock.
Thank you. And a seconder? Councillor Lauder. Ms. Haschler.
Thank you. So the next application is an application for a plan of condominium and an exemption from the draft approval process. And the purpose of the plan of condominium application is to establish condominium ownership of the existing 18-unit apartment dwelling house on the subject property. I should point out that the building is still under construction. It's not entirely finished yet. As indicated by the applicant, each dwelling unit will be for the exclusive use of individual owners, and then all areas outside of the individual units, including the internal corridors, landscaped areas, walkways, access lanes, open areas, and other outside elements will be held in common ownership. There's 18 parking spaces contained within the building on the ground floor, which will be for the exclusive use of the individual owners, and there's 2 visitor parking spaces outside the building, which will be held in common ownership. The applicant has requested the exemption from the standard draft plan process, as they have gone through the site plan approval process, and they have entered into agreement with the city as of March 14, 2018. And so, as council is probably aware, there are 2 different ways to handle a plan of condominium. The first way is to generally treat it as a plan of subdivision, where it has conditional approval and it has conditions that they need to meet prior to final approval. Or there's the condominium approval with the exemption, and the exemption basically allows them to bypass the conditional approval stage. And in this case, we feel that the exemption is appropriate, as they've already gone through site plan approval process. Staff are generally supportive of this application. It's providing a different form of housing in the area, and in light of and it's in keeping with the entrepreneurial district of the official plan. And in light of our review, we would recommend favorable consideration from City Council.
Thank you. Questions of council? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. And our next one, with all of the great growth going on in the city, and of course many of the infill lots and new townhouses that are coming up, and of course council's concern for the neighbors, we've recommended site plan control on so many of those applications. And not to take away your thunder tonight, but this amendment to our site control bylaw will make sure that that's part of all these new infill and townhouse developments. Councillor Talbot?
I'll move that Woodstock City Council refer the amendment to Site Plan Control Bylaw 871111 to the bylaw section of the meeting.
Thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Accioni. Any discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's nice when you don't have to speak to a planning report. Our next item on the agenda is the consideration of correspondence, and we've received correspondence from the co-chair of the Woodstock Truck Show, and they've been doing such a great job over the last few years. Over $100,000 in support raised for the Special Olympics here in Oxford County, and of course for WDDS. Looking for a motion. Councillor Accioni.
Thank you, Your Honor. Moved by myself that the correspondence received from the Woodstock Truck Show and Calendar Competition requesting in-kind support for the use of picnic tables, garbage drums, barricades, no parking signs, and temporary fencing be supported.
Thank you. And the seconder, Councillor Schadenberg. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. And our next item on the agenda, this is a hot topic. I'm sure everyone's received some emails, phone calls, and many of you, I saw you out there with shovels and snow blowers helping your neighbors. The sidewalk winter maintenance. Councillor Lauder.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council refer the report regarding sidewalk winter maintenance to the Revenue Fund budget deliberations.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Accioni. Discussion? Seeing none, it's a very valuable report, and I'm sure we're going to have more discussions on that as we get into the Revenue Fund budget. You've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. And the next item on the agenda is the curbside recycling collection. And of course, we've heard from many of our residents they'd like to see us have a much more proactive approach in how quickly we pick up those recycling items. And it's a very detailed report. Councillor Accioni.
Moved by myself, the Woodstock City Council refer the report regarding curbside recycling collection options to the Revenue Fund budget deliberations.
Thank you. And the seconder, Councillor Fraser. Discussion? Seeing none, we'll have more discussion coming up in the future. You've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. And then we also have our 2019 trackless purchase. Councillor Fraser.
That's Woodstock City Council waive the tendering requirements of the purchase policy and authorize the purchase of 2019 trackless MT7 tractor and attachments in the amount of $197,015, excluding taxes.
Thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Talbot. Discussion? Councillor Lauder.
Yes, through the mayor to Mr. DeHaan. Is this an additional snow removal equipment?
Your worship, through the councillor, no, this is a replacement.
Could you tell me how many snow removal equipment pieces we have for sidewalks at the present time?
Your worship, through the councillor. If I remember correctly, Parks has one and Public Works has 4.
But there's just been lots of complaints about, as you know, and we all know, about the sidewalk clearing. And maybe you could explain a bit of why it has been harder to get to the sidewalks because of all the ice and so on.
Your worship, through the councillor. I'm going to backtrack because I just remembered that this one actually is a new one. That's why it's funded through DC charges. I apologize. Sorry, you wanted to comment on the recent events? Yes. So last Tuesday, and the days are all blurring, so I'm hoping I'm getting my days right. I think it was last Tuesday we started a 36-hour precipitation event, which involved snow, rain, and freezing rain and snow. We kept the roads meeting the provincial minimum maintenance standards throughout the whole event and continued afterwards. We've had crews on the roads basically 24/7 since then, addressing the road conditions, including the sidewalks. We've also had and we have had some breakdowns which slowed things down. I know nobody wants to hear excuses, but we did have some breakdowns that slowed things down, so we had to juggle some equipment, and sometimes we didn't get as much on the sidewalk as we wanted, but the roads always take the priority. And then with the freeze, the closing of the 401 also hindered operations in the south side of town because we weren't able to plow on the south side of town because with all the traffic, we couldn't get up to speed to plow. We've still been working on cleaning up the roads today, so.
Thank you. And I just hope the citizens have some patience and you will get to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions? Councillor Schadenberg.
Yeah, to the mayor, I guess to Harold DeHaan one more time. I noticed that from your report, excellent report, that the trackless machinery is actually manufactured in Cortland, so just outside of Oxford County, and the staff is very satisfied with the performance and quality of the trackless line. But I guess the question I have is, I'm sure a lot of citizens might be interested in it too. I know there's a sort of a 220,000 was the amount of money earmarked for the purchase of it. Why is it that there's not a tender out for various companies to apply for this equipment?
Your Worship, through the councillor, as we mentioned in our report, we kind of want to sole sort this equipment because all of our other equipment is also trackless, and all the attachments fits this. So if we got another type of machinery, and we'd have equipment and attachment problems, and we wouldn't be able to interchange it all. Also, based on what we have seen, the quotes that we get from trackless are competitive for what we think we'd get if we went on the street.
Thank you. Further questions of council? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. Next item on the agenda is the Brick Wetland Enhancement Project. Councillor Talbot.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into an agreement with Ducks Unlimited Canada regarding the Brick Wetland Enhancement Project contingent on final approval by staff.
Seconded by Councillor Schattenberg. Discussion. Seeing none, I think that speaks to our earlier delegation and the continual updates for council. Great job. You've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. Next item on the agenda is, even though we're still in winter, we're getting ready for the next season we experience, which is construction season. Councillor, who wants to take this? Councillor Fraser.
That the Woodstock City Council award the tender for the reconstruction of Light Street to Vucon Construction Limited in the amount of $1,202,706.91, inclusive of HST.
Thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Accioni. Discussion. Councillor Schattenberg.
To the mayor again, to I guess Harold DeHaan one more time. And I see that the budget of the amount is divided between the county and the city. What part would be the county application towards this amount? What section of the streets?
Your Worship, through the councillor, the county portion would cover the water main and sanitary work that's part of the project. The rest of it would be city work.
Further questions? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. Next item on the agenda is the renaming of Cowan Park Sportsplex. Councillor Accioni.
Moved by myself, the Woodstock City Council direct staff to alter the name of Cowan Park to Cowan Park Sportsplex.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Tate. Discussion. Seeing none, you've heard, Councillor Tate.
If you just want to have Mr. Connors speak to it, because he actually spoke to them to get the okay.
Your Worship, through to the councillor's question. Yes, we did speak to the Cowan Foundation first before coming to council to make sure that they were okay with this. They got back to me quite quickly and said they were fine with that. So.
Thank you very much for making sure you looked into that. Further discussion of council? You've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. Next item is the Tree and Vegetation Protection Policy. Councillor Talbot.
Thank you, Worship. I'll move that Woodstock City Council adopts policy PR 01414, tree and vegetation protection, and further that policies PR 005, tree and stump removal, and PR 007, planting, placement, maintenance, and removal of trees be repealed.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Lauder. Discussion. Councillor Talbot.
Thank you, Worship. Just through to Mr. Connors, maybe you just want to, this is going to help us going forward, isn't it? This is the bylaw we've been waiting for. Or the policy, I guess it's not really a bylaw, it's a policy. This is what, especially for development, correct?
Your Worship, through to the councillor's question. This is a policy change. There will be guideline changes, and in fact, we've made some guideline changes at the staffing level already. We're going to continue to do that throughout the year, but this policy will help us make those changes, but we'll also be coming forward with some bylaws to give those guidelines some real teeth, and that will be coming forward this year as well.
Just to, if you don't mind, continue on. We had, of course, Upper Thames with their report and the amount of trees coverage that we've lost. I forget exactly how much it was, but it was significant. And I know that this has been something we've been working on for some time. So even though it's a little piece of the puzzle, it's still a piece, and hopefully for protection. Thank you.
Councillor Lauder.
Yes, through the mayor to Mr. Connors. Could you just, for the public's information too, that we do have a tree planting policy that they can call in and get their name on a list, and if they're in there early enough, they might get a tree in their front yard during this year?
Your worship, through to the councillor's question, we do have a street tree plan that allows, if there's room on the boulevard, to plant a street tree in front of everyone's house. If they don't have that, yeah, they can certainly contact the Parks Department, and we can see if we can get them accommodated.
Thank you. Further questions of council? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. Next item on the agenda is the request to amend the Woodstock Community Improvement Plan. Councillor Lauder.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council authorize the staff to initiate amendments to the Downtown Woodstock Community Improvement Plan, CIP, through the required planning process.
Thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Accioni. Discussion. Councillor Talbot.
I just wondered, Your Worship, if maybe Mr. Magyar would like to speak to it. I mean, it's an incredible program, the amount of businesses that have helped and the money that was invested, and I mean, that just speaks to what we're trying to do.
Your Worship, through to Councillor Talbot, certainly the CIP program has been a phenomenal boon for the downtown. It's been operational now for about 5 years, and as a result of the grants and loans that we have put out to various businesses and property owners, it's leveraged about $10 million in investment in our downtown core. So great return for our investment. What we are noticing now that we've been in the program for about 5 years, there are some small inconsistencies, and that's why we brought this report forward, so we can try and address those things. So it's, I say, housekeeping issues, but there's a little bit more involved in terms of process to make those changes.
Thank you. Further questions of council? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. And the next item is the Digital Main Street Service Squad Grant. And we'll go with Councillor Fraser.
The Woodstock City Council authorized the mayor and clerk to sign the necessary contract agreements for the Digital Main Street Service Squad Grant.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Talbot. Discussion. Councillor Talbot.
Thank you, Worship. I actually attended a seminar a couple of weeks ago on behalf of the warden, and there was a piece of it was this digital mainstream from the OBIA. And I believe Ramona is going to be, she did this on behalf of the collective BIAs, but along with this $40,000, downtown merchants are still eligible for a $2,500 grant that they can apply for. There's a pot. Once the pot is empty, the money is gone, but it is out there as well too. So I would, I had brought in some information back, but there's lots of sources out there if you just search them out. And I don't know if Mr. Magyar needs to add anything to it. It's going to be a great program.
Your Worship, through to council, I think the nice thing about this program is, number one, Ramona was very aggressive in terms of going forward, so we're glad to see that from our city staff. But where it's important to us, of course, with the small business center, it's a number of small businesses that we're helping, and secondly, it targets a lot of businesses in the BIA area. So, and as Councillor Talbot had mentioned earlier, it is a partnership, so we're working with a number of municipalities throughout the county, And that was fairly critical in terms of when Mrs. Gallagher was talking to the county about getting funding for the center. The county council, I think, bought in the idea that we are providing some services for people outside of Woodstock as well. So this is a key piece of all those pieces that kind of fit together.
Thank you. Further questions of council? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. And now we get into quite a few where we're doing some policies here. So first one, Code of Conduct Policy. Councillor Tate.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council approve the amendments to Council Policy GA016, Code of Conduct for Council Advisory Committees and Local Boards, effective March 1st, 2019, and further that the mayor and the clerk be authorized to sign the necessary agreements to appoint Gregory F. Stewart as Woodstock's Integrity Commissioner and closed meeting investigator, effective March 1st, 2019.
Thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Lauder. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. And our next one is the Conflict of Interest Registry. And we'll go Councillor Lauder.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council receive the report regarding a conflict of interest registry as information.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Fraser. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. Oh, Councillor Fraser.
Possibly we could, clerk, explain this a little bit so the public understands too.
Thank you. Your Worship, through to Councillor Fraser. So there were some changes made to the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act through Bill 68, and actually all four of the reports I have on tonight's agenda are ultimately in response to Bill 68. But the changes to the Conflict of Interest Act requires municipalities as well as local boards to now have conflict of interest registries in place by March 1st. So written statements of all conflicts of interest here at Council will be kept in a registry in the clerk's office, and a summary of all of the conflicts will also be kept with that registry as well as on the city's website. So this will give the citizens an opportunity to have a central place to go if they want to look at conflicts of interest, rather than having to fumble through various sets of minutes. As I mentioned, this is also required for local boards, so that includes our Public Library Board, Police Services Board, and the BIA Board. I have been in touch with the the secretaries for all three of those boards and informed them of this requirement as well.
Thank you. Councillor Fraser.
If you don't mind, Your Worship, through to the clerk, would this be a recommendation for other boards to follow? We have a lot of volunteer boards within the city. Would this be, in your opinion, would this be something worth the volunteer boards being looking at to cover off as well?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through to Councillor Fraser. It's certainly an option for them. The changes to the Conflict of Interest Act only require it for the municipality and the local boards I mentioned. If any of those organizations are looking for some guidance or some ideas on it, I'd be happy to do that. I know, for example, the Art Gallery Board has a conflict of interest policy as well. It's not a requirement, but they do have that policy, so they can, boards across the city can run with it, and I'd be happy to provide any information.
Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. And the next one is on accountability and transparency policy. Councillor Accioni.
Moved by myself that Woodstock City Council approve the amendments to Council Policy G8018, accountability and transparency.
Thank you. And a seconder. And we'll go with Councillor Tate. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. And the next one, pregnancy and parental leave policy for members of council. That's not going to be me. No one here today. All right. Councillor Tate.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council adopt Council Policy GA023, Pregnancy and Parental Leave Policy for members of council.
Thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Lauder. Discussion other than what we've already had with our chuckles. Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. And next on the agenda is our report regarding regional reform. And as many of our listeners at home that are watching this live stream, they are aware that there's 83 different municipalities here in the province of Ontario out of the 445 that we have that are currently under review by the government. And this speaks to some of the different structures that we have in municipal government and some of the recommendations that the city is going to share with other municipalities. Councillor Lauder.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council support the transfer of consent and subdivision approval authority to the City of Woodstock, and the water distribution and wastewater collection become a non-exclusive sphere of jurisdiction in Oxford County. And further, that the following resolution be adopted by Woodstock City Council. Whereas the Ontario government has begun a regional reform initiative that includes Oxford County, and whereas the City of Woodstock opposes a one-tier governance structure in Oxford County, as it will not result in better decision-making, will not result in improved services, and will not provide cost efficiencies. And whereas the City of Woodstock supports the continuation of a two-tier governance structure and prefers to develop a made-in-Oxford solution by looking at services, rationalization, and realignment. And now, therefore, be it resolved that Woodstock City Council requests County Council to facilitate and coordinate a process for developing a two-tier made-in-Oxford solution, and that this report be circulated to all Oxford County municipalities for consideration of endorsement. And further, that this report be forwarded to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs, the Oxford Member of Provincial Parliament, and the Regional Reform Special Advisors.
Thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Fraser. Discussion? Councillor Lauder.
Didn't go. I totally agree with the report that Mr. Curry has brought forward, and I don't think one-tier system is great. We saw what happened with our school boards, and I think that by working together with the county and the townships, that we should be able to come up with something that's reasonable. And I think this is a very good start to having something that can satisfy all of the Oxford County without going a one-tier system, which I hope never happens. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Councillor Schattenberg.
Through the mayor to either David Curry to answer, probably even Harold DeHaan. I noticed today there's appeared to be a water main break on Devonshire Avenue, which is, of course, a county road going to the city of Woodstock. We started talking about duplications or tiered systems. That was a water main break, I'm assuming, today on Devonshire that's got half the road closed off. But nonetheless, how does that kind of reflect in creating this two-tiered system of government or going to a one-tier system?
Your Worship, through the councillor, to be honest with you, the water department doesn't usually give me I usually find out the next day. So I don't know if it was a water main break or not, but we would take care of it. We have an agreement with the county, and that worked kind of nicely. We treat their roads and their water and sanitary systems as if they're ours, and then we just bill them back later on for the work. That way, it doesn't stretch them throughout the whole council, and we know the ins and outs of our system.
Councillor Fraser.
Your Worship, would it be worthwhile for the public to watch this live stream to have our CAO just give a few points of his report, which is an excellent report, and just a few highlights so everybody understands the position of this council.
Your Worship, through to Councillor Fraser and all of council. It's a long report to try and summarize, so I'll try. So in January, the province announced a regional governance review with the goal of improving governance and decision-making and improving service delivery by finding cost efficiencies, eliminating duplications, and removing barriers to making effective and responsive infrastructure and service delivery decisions. They appointed 2 special advisors to make recommendations to the province. Consultation meetings have already occurred with the mayors of each Oxford municipality, And based on what we know now, there doesn't appear to be any further opportunities for consultation meetings with the lower tier councils of Oxford County. So this report will hopefully provide City Council with the opportunity to take a position on this initiative. So staff has recommended that Council not support a one-tier option because we don't believe it will result in better decision making, it won't result in improved services, and it won't result in cost efficiencies. And we've given a number of reasons in the report as to why we think that's the case. We have recommended that Council support a two-tier form of government that may include lower tier boundary alignments and service rationalization. And we've also introduced a few ideas for service efficiencies as well as service quality improvements, including things like consent and subdivision approval authority being transferred to the lower tier. Not quite sure why it rests with the County of Oxford. City Council makes decisions with respect to zone change applications. It would seem most appropriate that land division decisions are also made by the people who are elected to the community in which those decisions are being made. We've also suggested that water and wastewater become a non-exclusive sphere of jurisdiction in the Municipal Act, which simply means that the city would be in a position to be able to take some authority, if it was granted by the County of Oxford, for matters relating to the wastewater collection system, so the sewers, or the water distribution system, the water mains. And we would seek to do so that we can make infrastructure investment decisions to support economic development opportunities. We've also made a suggestion that consideration be given to contracting out county road maintenance to the lower tiers. The county contracts to the city of Woodstock for road maintenance of the county roads within the city of Woodstock, but does not do so in the other rural lower tiers. Contracting that out would help reduce duplication by eliminating the duplicate road patrol yards as well as equipment. And so 19 years ago, Oxford was included in the municipal restructuring initiative that was under the Savings and Restructuring Act. And at that time, County Council took the lead to develop a Made in Oxford solution. And so we've made a recommendation that City Council requests County Council to again take that lead to develop a Made in Oxford solution.
Thank you. Very, very good summary of a very complex matter. Further discussion of council? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. And our last report on the agenda is the Downs at Cedar Creek Golf Course Termination Agreement. And of course, many of my friends who had memberships already know about this. For some of the people who are watching this, this is the first they'll hear about it. Councillor Talbot.
Moved by myself. Moved by myself that Woodstock City Council authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into a termination agreement with 1306668 Ontario Limited.
You and a seconder. Councillor Schadenberg. Discussion. We can tell people. Someone asked the question. Councillor Talbot.
Who would like to explain what we're moving? Because it is a numbered company, but it is Downs at Cedar Creek.
Your Worship, through to Councillor Talbot, the agreement that Council is approving this evening is a termination of the long-term lease that the city has with currently Golf North Ontario. That's not what it started out with. The lease has a term of 49 years, so if it ran full term, it would run to July of 2038. The lease is essentially for the city lands that 2 of the 9 golf holes are occupied on city lands on the south side of Juliana Drive, as well as the clubhouse. Those lands are subject to the lease are being terminated, and it's an agreement just to make a clean break with Gulf North that there are no further obligations to either party under that lease, given its long length of term. There's one minor, I guess, ongoing agreement that we've papered in the termination agreement, and it's the need for Gulf North to store a tractor for mowing purposes, and they would like to store it in the garage portion of the clubhouse. They will need to maintain the lands that they own on the north side of Juliana. It won't be groomed to a golf course standard, but it will still need to be maintained, and the weeds will need to be cut. And so in trade-off of that, we've got Gulf North to agree to maintain our lands on the south side of Juliana Drive for the time being, to help relieve our Parks Department that just seems to be inheriting vast acres of land in the last several years that is really stretching their resources. So we're hopeful that we can continue, at least in the short term, with this arrangement, and so it's part of the termination agreement.
Your worship, just through still to David, you didn't mention, or did you, and I missed it, about the clubhouse or like that whole building? You might want to just address that as well.
Your worship, through to Councillor Talbot, yes, the clubhouse sits on city lands, and so through the termination of the lease, the clubhouse becomes a responsibility of the city of Woodstock, so we end up as the responsible party for it. The keys have already been turned over. The base budget includes some funds for the utility burden of that building. And the engineering department's already looking at making a use of it to move into it during the summer, so that they can continue to deliver service when their building's undergoing a renovation. So you may see it actually, being used this year.
Thank you. Further questions of council? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. And our next item on the agenda is the bylaws. We'll go Councillor Schattenberg.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Ron Fraser that the following bylaws be given a first and second reading. 9274-19, a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 8626-10 as amended, ZN 8-1902, 748 Dundas Street. 9275-19, a site plan control bylaw. 9276-19, a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 8626-10 as amended, ZN 818, that was Juliana Drive. 927719, a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 8626-10 as amended, ZN 1820 for Kent Street. 9278-19, a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 8626-10 as amended, referred to as ZN 81725 for Finkel Street.
Thank you. You've heard the motion. All those in favor?
That the following bylaws be given third and final reading. 9274-19, a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 8626-10. 9275-19, a site plan control bylaw. 9276-19, a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 8626-10 as amended. 9277-19, a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 8626-10 as amended. And 9278-19, again, a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 8626-10 as amended. It was moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Ron Fraser.
Thank you. You've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. And tonight we will start with Councillor Tate.
Yes, at the next meeting, just so everyone's aware, there's going to be a report come forward about a park naming. A family from Woodstock's been asking for like the last 30 years, so I'll be bringing forth the name forward with all the history of it. And while I was doing that, thinking about it, I realized we have never done a street for former mayors Harding or Pat Sebeski. So I'm hoping the next time that there's two streets come forward that we can rename those, the Michael Harding and Pat Sebeski. We normally do it while quite soon after, and we've never done it, and I don't want to get down the road like this family, and 30 years later, we're like, well, we didn't do it. So I'm hoping for when we have 2 streets coming forward, that we do that. That's it.
Thank you. Councillor Schattenberg.
A couple of things I want to remind everybody about. First of all, the Rec and Leisure Fair is on Sunday, March the 3rd, from 1 until 4 p.m. Free admission, lots of door prizes. The Rec and Leisure Fair is organized by the Recreation Advisory Committee for the City of Woodstock. One of the reasons I want to mention it now, though, there's still time for your group or organization to be involved. If you're a not-for-profit organization, it's $25 for a table. And if you're a for-profit organization, say a golf course, for example, or a fitness club, just $50 to participate in this event. And it's really to promote everything to do with rec and leisure in the city of Woodstock. So it's everything from service clubs to sports groups for adults and kids, hobby groups like even coin collectors, singing, dancing, acting, summer camps, so much kind of under the umbrella for Sunday, March the 3rd, 1 till 4. The other thing I want to mention is today was the annual general meeting for the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority. I was there to represent the city of Woodstock sort of as an advisory committee appointment. A couple of things I want to mention about that. First of all, Alan Dale, who's on council for Norwich Township, he's on Upper Thames River Conservation Authority for Norwich Township and Southwest Oxford, and lives in nearby Curries, and kind of knows the history of Hodges Pond and all that stuff too, in discussion with him. But what's important about significant of mentioning his name, he was elected today to be a vice chair of the committee for the next 4 years. So Alan Dale's going to be sort of an Oxford County member in a high position with the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority. The other thing I wanted to mention was that David Mayberry was the guest speaker at the annual General Mayberry meeting. David Mayberry, of course, is the current mayor of Southwest Oxford Township and a former warden, former Upper Thames River Conservation Authority board member too, and he talked so much about the zero waste programs and other Oxford initiatives that have been very important. And so David Mayberry and Alan Dale I wanted to mention. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Fraser.
Thank you, Your Worship. I don't have a lot to say. Spring's coming, we hope. And I think we've all received inquiries and phone calls about snow and ice and that. But all I can say is that if the public's patient, it will happen. And I think we need to congratulate our Engineering and Public Works Department for the job that they did do considering the circumstances of backlog of traffic off the 401 from major accidents, and they still managed to get the job done what I think is was rather efficiently. And obviously those plows were working all night. And I do have to bring this up because one citizen that I had a rather interesting discussion with about snow removal during the 401 closure actually suggested that maybe Mr. DeHaan should have like 2 or 3 more of those cats with the plows on the front for the wintertime because they seem to move it the best and the fastest. And so maybe just a little thing for his ear to expand his equipment because we have at least one citizen that says, I will pay another $150 more a year in taxes if he gets more of those plows. And I says, talk to your peers, and we'll go from there. Anyways, that's about it. I just want to say a fine job by our Board of Works Department and under the circumstances.
Thank you. Councillor Talbot.
Thank you, Your Worship. Weather definitely has been the topic at most places, and we have been experiencing a wide variety and very challenging. And kudos to the staff who have been working night and day to try to alleviate the snow and the ice and everything that's been thrown at them. Because of the weather, a lot of cancellations occurred and rescheduling of dates, and Forks and Corks, sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce, was rescheduled. It's going to take place on Tuesday, March the 26th from 6 to 9. Just a reminder about International Women's Day, Wednesday, March the 6th, and the 8th annual Gems in Java, Friday, April 12th, and Saturday, April 13th. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lauder.
Thank you. On Saturday, I attended the art gallery, the opening of their exhibition, the Indigenous works and the Inuit works, and it was such a fabulous opening. And Mary is here tonight, so I can only thank her and their staff on the excellent job they did, and it's really something to be very proud of. And I hope that the citizens of Woodstock over the next few weeks, or I think the indigenous one is there for the year, so there's going to be lots of time to get in, and it's just a good history lesson. So thanks to the art gallery for bringing this to Woodstock. We are so fortunate. And I just wanted to announce that the Fanshawe Choir, their jazz concert is this Saturday night at Goff Hall at 7 o'clock, and there's still a few tickets that's left. And if you're worrying about the snow here, in Sudbury, my granddaughter's there, and she said that's tunnels down the streets, and they're having to cut the snow banks off to get down the streets. So we really don't have a lot to worry about, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Accioni.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, Your Worship, whatever. I remind everybody the 2019 revenue fund budget. Of course, we're going to have lots of seats available. Come on out, 5 o'clock, the 26th and the 28th of next week, Tuesday and Thursday. Always amazing how many people do have a lot of opinions. Here's your chance to actually hear the whole story, why things are coming. But it will be live streamed, so if you'd rather stay in the comfort of your home, check it out on the website. Tickets have got to be selling out quickly for the Golden Gala, so just a friendly reminder, it's an amazing evening. Get out, check it out. Rec and Leisure Fair, again, was mentioned. What a great opportunity for the whole family to get out, look at a lot of the different events. Yeah.
I forgot to mention the where. It's Cowan Park
Cowan
Sportsplex.
Park. Cowan Park Sportsplex, the new name, yes. So again, Sunday, March 3rd, 1 to 4 at the Cowan Park Sportsplex. And also, please continue to be a good neighbor. We all get lots of calls. Help your neighbors out. Help us out as a city with your own sidewalk if you can do it in front of you. If you know your neighbors can't, please assist, especially if you have a snowplow. Or a snow blower. It only takes a few minutes to walk down the street for a little bit. So, yeah, let's help each other out. Thanks, everybody.
Well, thank you very much to council covering everything that needed to be covered. My address is now at nothing. I will just say a motion to adjourn. Councillor Fraser, seconded by Councillor Schattenberg. You've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. Thank you.